Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is very exciting. Elissa has just arrived in Bushy, and Michael, her husband, has just arrived in the UK. So this really is hot off the press. It's sometimes in life you come across people that you think for a moment seem to just be ordinary people, and then you get to know them and you realize that they are truly extraordinary. And Elissa is one of those incredible people. She's going to be sharing her story with you. It's a very moving story. There's a trigger warning. Elissa's going to be speaking about the loss of their firstborn baby of Sam. So anyone who needs to take a break at any point, please look after yourself. It's very important. But I have to say that Elissa's story is very uplifting. And that's one of the reasons that we wanted her to be able to share with you today. The learning that we are doing today has been generously sponsored. I actually have the card machine, so anyone else who wants to sponsor our session today is welcome to afterwards, but is sponsored for Diane's special birthday. So it is special birthday. Every birthday is special, but this is a special birthday. So what a great way to celebrate a birthday. It's also sponsored in memory of someone in our group who has twins that they lost as very young babies, and that's for Richard Louis King, Avram Ben Moshe, and his twin brother who died in utero, who didn't have a name, but our learning today is in his memory, and also in the memory of Shmuel Chaim Ben Moshe Halevi. So we should all take the inspiration, and these very, very holy souls will move even higher up and closer to Hashem, where he is embracing them all. So really, in memory of anyone here who's loved and lost it, especially a child, we're thinking of you. We're trying to carry you together, and really just we're here as an incredible group together. We normally meet on a Monday morning. This week we're meeting on a Friday morning. We are back to Mondays from this Monday, but this is really an incredible honor to have my dear friend and unbelievable person to have Elissa with us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. With that introduction, I really would like this presentation or this talk. I know in England people say lecture. I don't want to be lecturing. I want to be sharing, and I don't want it to be sad, even though sad it is. I want it to be affirming of life, and so. I'm not American. I might sound American. I really want to sound English because my roots are in South London. I grew up in Brixton, which used to have a very vibrant and very solid Jewish community and Jewish life. And I grew up there. My parents and my grandparents were both married in Brixton Synagogue, so it was a home for me. And but I know there's nothing left there now. Actually went to take a visit back down the nostalgic road and see the old places. There's no Brixton Synagogue left, but back in the day, I grew up there and actually was very good friends with a peer of mine who grew up in this shul, Bushy. His name was Daniel Beller. I don't know if anybody knew Daniel, but he grew up in this shul. He's my age. I'm 63, so work out the math. And he passed away a few years ago, but he always talked about Bushy, so I'm really happy to be here, and I'm thinking of him as well. So I know this is an Emunah group, talking about Emunah, as I say in America, Emunah, or Israel, whatever, like different ways of saying it. So excuse my Americanisms. I might not say all the words the way I should be in England, but I'm going to share a little bit of my story. In the hopes that it brings inspiration, in the hopes that it brings some sense of this world is a messy world and no one really is immune from challenges, struggles, pains. And I wonder if that isn't how God created us, so that we should have this range of emotions that include grief and, I don't know, visceral body responses to things that happen to us, and maybe they're things that help us in our journey. I, as I said, grew up in South London. very lovely. I had a lovely childhood. Everything went the way I wanted it to, or it was supposed to. You know that story about somebody who gets on an airplane and they think they're heading to holiday in Spain. So they got their suitcase and it's ready to go to Spain, and they get on the plane and the flight attendant says, "Okay, everybody, we're on our way to Alaska." I say, "What do you mean Alaska? I'm going to Spain. I'm prepared for Spain. I don't want to go to Alaska." Is that our lives? Maybe that's our lives. We think we're going one way and then things shift and things change and things roadblock us, and we end up taking a different plan, a different road, a different option. So after I had this lovely childhood, I got very involved in Jewish youth study groups. I don't know if anybody has any connections with study groups. Yeah? Great, we'll talk. And I don't know if you know Nikki Goldman. She and I were friends in study groups back in the day. And so I loved it. I met religious people, like people who actually kept Shabbos and went to shul, and South London had its, share of people driving and doing different things. So that was very interesting to me. And I went on my spiritual religious journey, trying to understand life and what's life about and what am I supposed to do in the world. And when I was I finished university, and I was at a party with a friend of mine, and I met this American. There was an American at this party. He was an American. He was a doctor. He was a captain in the U.S. Air Force. Amazing. That's my husband over there, Michael Felder, the doctor, captain, Jewish person living in the UK. And we got married in 1985, and then we moved to Washington, D.C. After a few years of trying to have a family, start a family, that's another whole story of infertility journey. We were blessed with a pregnancy, and this baby was, as he was growing in utero, it became evident that there were maybe some issues with him. Maybe his heart wasn't so perfect, and his brain and his head and his this and his that. And it was like, oh yeah, let's just get this baby and see what's happening. And Sam was born in June of 1989. And he was born with a host of unknown diagnoses. We didn't quite know what would be with him, but, warrior mother, everything's going to be fantastic. We're going to make this work. Nothing bad ever happens if we're good people. I don't know what happened to that notion. And after a few months of taking care of him, he was home with us. We loved him. We did all the things. We poured all our energies into this child. And it was decided it was time for him to have surgery to correct his heart defect. It's interesting. We handed him over to the surgeon to have his open heart surgery, and we gave him the priestly blessing, which actually is delineated in this week's Torah portion, Parshas Naso. We read God telling Moshe to tell Aaron and his descendants that this priestly blessing is the one to bless the Jewish people with. And we do it on Friday nights, and we do it at other times. We say it in our morning blessings. We say it at the Shema before we go to sleep. We say this threefold blessing. We gave our baby up with the threefold blessing that God should take care of him, God should look after him, God should give him peace, all the things we want for our children, those of us who are blessed to have children. And sadly, after many hours, it became evident that his heart was not fixable. And he died on the operating table. He was 4.5 months old. I was 26 years old. And I'm going to speak about me because my husband has his own narrative about how, as we all do, have our own stories, even though it's maybe looked the same, it's different. So as much as I say I, it's really also we. Were faced with the loss of a baby at age 26, and I had no tools to deal with it. This is such an awful thing. This is beyond awful. This has no words to describe how one feels when the door slams shut on you like that. No warning, no anticipation. It was just like, gone. What? Gone? Oh, can't be. There must be. What's our tradition? What does Judaism teach about life and death, and where did my baby go, and what happened to him? I was so desirous from the beginning to know where he went. We talked about going on holiday to Spain. When we send off our loved ones, they go away. We want to know, do you have the right clothes? Do you have the right, do you have enough food? Are you going to be warm enough? Are you going to be cold? You know, like we want to make sure people we love are taken care of. And I had this intense desire to know that Sam was taken care of. Where are you? What happened to you? Where did you go? Like, you're not here. I can't take care of you anymore, but I need to know you're all right. So there began my journey of trying to learn, aside from the grief, which is a separate, it felt like a separate kind of struggle of dealing with the grief, getting up out of bed every morning, all of those things, was where theologically, religiously, what happens and why we are like, almost like, well, if we have to understand death, we sort of have to understand life. So I'm going to share some of the things that I've learned along the way. Maybe they're not new to you. I imagine they're not, but maybe in this package, they will be received differently. And I hope, you know, every time I get up to speak, it's like, Hashem, give me the words, the right words to say, that they enter your heart, or they enter into your understanding of your lives and your struggles in a way that brings you comfort, or brings you inspiration, or brings you strength. So that I start off with that intention that what I'm sharing will help you and will inspire you, or make you think, or land in a certain way that it's good. So trying to understand what life is informs what death is. So I learned that we, the living, are this miraculous coupling of a spiritual, holy soul that is breathed into us by the creator of everything on a regular, ongoing basis, such that we are a coupling of this spiritual, holy soul with a physical, organic body. That's who we are. Rabbi Tatz is a local to London. I don't know if you've ever heard Rabbi Tatz speak, but he speaks about the Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve were first created, that they were created in this bucolic garden. Everything was provided for them. And they were, I don't know if we can imagine this, but they were more soul and less body. Which is one of the reasons why actually we put our fingernails up to the lights on Avtala. Do you know that tradition, to put your fingernails up? Because Adam and Eve's skin was not like ours. It was more translucent, like our nail bed, like the nail, like you can see through it a little bit. So the idea that Adam and Eve were more soul with a bit of body. After they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, this is Kabbalistic teachings, mystical teachings, and I learned this from Rabbi Tatz, that the soul goes more inside. When they were exiled from the garden, the soul went inwards, and the skin and the outside became more of a hide, right? Our skin is a hide. It hides our soul. It's a vessel. Our body is a vessel that carries the soul, and they both need each other. The soul needs the body, and the body needs the soul to travel in this world. But Adam and Eve were more soul and body. We're more body, and the more of a hidden soul. Say that the soul comes out through your eyes, and it comes out through your hands. So the soul is the part of us that comes from God. The parable is a glass blower. Have you ever seen a glass blower? They kind of take in a breath, comes from their innermost wherever, insides, blow through a pipette. At the other end is a molten glob of glass. As the air from the glass blower comes in, it animates it and opens it up and makes it into a vessel, makes it into something that is more malleable, more something, more alive. So that glass blower metaphor is one given for how God is blowing our soul into us all the time. So our body is like the molten glass that gets animated by the soul that God's blowing into us. So there's always a connection to the divine. I'll tell you something else I heard, which is that the biggest living organism in the world, is the aspen tree forest in Colorado. So the aspen tree forest looks like it's a whole swath of trees, a big forest of trees, and every tree is individual, except that it has one root system. All those trees are interconnected by one root system. They look individual and they stand apart from each other, but underneath they're all one. That's the mashal, that's the parable, the metaphor for us. we're all interconnected. We look like we're different people, but we're all sourced from the same God that's blowing souls into us. Okay, so these are some nice kind of understanding. So what happened? Adam and Eve were exiled from the Garden of Eden, and they became more physical. Their skin and that hides their soul went more internal, and now they're exiled into the world we live in. When God created the world, says the Ramchal, 16th century medieval Ramchal, 16th century. He tells us the reason that God created the world. Like, I want to know, why did God create the world? Like, what's the point? God created the world to bestow God's goodness upon us, to give us good, give us blessing. That's the reason, says the Ramchal, why all of this was created. I'll tell you another analogy. I love all these analogies because we can't really picture things. Can't picture God, can't picture a soul, but we have analogies. We have things in our life that help us understand maybe a bigger picture. So here's another parable. A baby in utero is growing inside the mother, and the mother is providing everything that fetus needs to grow, right? It gets oxygen, it gets temperature control, it gets cushioning, it gets nutrients, it gets everything it needs. That fetus in utero has absolutely no concept of who the mother is. The fetus is inside the mother. The fetus cannot exist without the mother. So too, that's all of creation is like that fetus. And the mother is like Kadosh Baruch Hu, God, who is the oneness of everything within which we exist. This is taking us somewhere. So, and that the mother can exist without the child. God can exist without us. We can't exist without God. We are dependent on God, but we have no concept of God, but we're in the oneness of that God. Okay, so I like these things. They kind of help me think there's something much bigger going on in this world than I can have any concept of. The souls, there are souls. There are 600,000 root souls of the Jewish people. And so there's more than 600,000 Jews. So we are all recycled souls. We're all souls that are coming around. We're coming around to complete tikkun, complete a work that we were put in the world to do. So when we're born, the soul comes from the world of souls. Again, we can't really picture it, but there's spiritual worlds where souls reside. And God decides, okay, this soul coming in, we get to choose, that soul gets to choose which family to come into, what age to come into. We live in a box of time and space outside of which God doesn't live, in that box of time and space that God created. So the soul gets to choose, I'll come into this family. And the soul doesn't really want to be born. It says in the Ethics of the Fathers, against your will, you're born. And the soul gets put into a body at birth, usually. And you come in and you're crying because you don't really want to be born. You're happy in the spiritual world. So the soul is a little bit sad. And the people, most times, the people are happy. Mazel tov, you have a baby. And then you get to live your life, body and soul, coupled together, God blowing the soul into us all the time, like the glass blower. We get to do our thing. We get to have free will. We get to live our lives. We get to struggle and have challenges and try to get to Spain, even though God's taking us to Alaska and all the things. And then at the other end of life, however long that is, for some souls, it's a few days, a few hours, a few months. For Sam, 120 years for Moses. At the end of that journey, the soul ascends back into the spiritual world, and the body is being put into the ground. We have a separation, an uncoupling of the body and the soul. The body has absorbed holiness by its being the vessel for the Holy Soul. So we treat the body with absolute respect, honor, holiness, like we would a Sefer Torah. Actually, the word for a coffin is an aron, is an aron, not a coffin. It's an aron like the ark. So that there's a separation of this body and soul. Why? So that the soul can be purified. and the body can be purified. And then, this was the part they didn't teach me in Sunday school. And it's in our liturgy every single day. We pray for God to revive the dead. Like, I never thought about it. It's actually, I think, the third or fourth blessing in the standing prayer, the Amidah, the Shemona Esrei, that God promises to bring about L'chaim Eitim, the resurrection. The dead should come to life. What's that? Jacqueline recently and I went to a conference in New York, and there was
Elissa arranged the most amazing conference. She did the whole thing. I spoke to the group about it. It's been very positive, but it was fantastic.
Anyway, it was a brilliant conference. There was a woman who is the dean of students in a modern Orthodox girls' school in New Jersey, and she lost her father when her father died when she was, I think, 7 or 8, and she now is very aware of teenagers if they lose family members or friends, like how hard it is for them. So she does bereavement groups for them. So she's sitting on this panel and she says, you know, we might say these blessings every day and they become kind of rote and we just say the same blessings every day. But she said that these girls, when they say the prayer of God revive the dead, they really want God to revive the dead. They want their parent to walk through the door and give them a hug. They really want it. And I think when I look back, I really wanted to give Sam one more kiss. I want to give him one more hug. I want to tell him I love him one more time. I really want Tchias HaMesim. I really want that resurrection to happen like now already. But in a way, it's a teaching to tell us there's hope. One day, what we perceive as the end of life is really just a transition. We think of it as the end, but it's actually a birth. I learned somewhere, you know, L'chaim, like we have this, you know, cheers, L'chaim. L'chaim has 2 yuds in it. And somebody said one of the reasons why it has 2 yuds in it is because you're L'chaim, you're alive in this world, and you have life in the next world. So the soul, even though it's no longer housed in a body in this physical world, it goes back to the spiritual world from where it came. And the body goes into the ground so that it can regenerate, it can do what it needs to do, and the soul needs to do what it needs to do, and then we come back together. So it's temporary separation of the soul from the body, and temporary separation of the living from the dead. That was, to me, like a game changer. I don't like it. I don't want this to be the way it is. I would love to have more clarity about it, but the tradition teaches us that this is temporary. And I didn't, Sam died, I didn't. I have what to do. We have life. God has faith in us that we have things to do. I know this is a class of faith, and sometimes it goes both ways. Like, we have faith in God that he'll take care of us, but God has faith in us that we have something to do, and there's a reason why we're here. Okay, so why do we have to be buried? Why do in America, please God, it should not happen in the UK. In America, most American Jews are not being buried. Most American Jews are being cremated. And that's an industry that is pushing it, and it's like really awful because people don't understand what's the story here. And so what's burial? Burial is an opportunity for a decomposition, for a recomposition. It's like, what are you talking about? Okay, here comes another parable. The parable is a seed that you put in the ground. You put the seed in the ground, and I don't know if you ever tried to dig up a seed, but it decomposes. You can't see it again. It's gone. But if you wait, it starts to sprout and it grows into whatever it grows into, but it regrows. But it went into it decomposed first. So to a caterpillar going into a pupa, decomposes, whatever it does. Doesn't look like a caterpillar if you cut open a pupa. What comes out is a butterfly. And it's crazy. How does that happen? Like, we don't question that, but we question you put a body in the ground that's going to grow again, it's going to come back to life again. That's crazy, but it's not crazy that a butterfly comes out of a pupa. So in a way, some of these things in our world help us understand concepts that we otherwise might think are completely far-fetched. we have these examples that help us maybe try to understand that there's a lot we can learn from this world to help us understand as little as we can. Like we're looking through a little peephole in a much bigger picture. So we planted Sam in the ground. And then we went to Shiva. Shiva's the next stage, right? You sit Shiva. People came to us and people came to comfort us. And I do think that, and I know you have a lovely community here, the value of community is huge. The value of each other's presence is huge. And the way it seems that God set up the world, this world, is that we really need each other. We're not people who live in isolation. We're not people who want to be, I mean, I know some people like to be isolated, but in general, we're a social being and we need to be in communities and we need to be in present and be comforting of each other's journeys and each other's processes. And there's something very powerful about that. Somebody asked me recently, is there such a thing as an angel? So there's lots of discussions about angels. What's an angel? An angel is a messenger that God sends into this world to do a thing. But I wonder if we're not all angels, or have the potential to be the person that shows up in a way that helps another person, or helps bring the world forward, or puts a little bit more light into the world. And that, go back to this week's Torah portion about the priestly blessing. God could easily bless the people himself, right? But God said, no, there's an intermediary. There's going to be Aaron, the brother of Moses, and he and his descendants are going to stand up and they put their arms up, right? And through the arms will come the blessing to the people. By the way, you're not supposed to look. You know, there's a thing about not looking at the Kohanim while they're standing on the bema blessing the people. I also learned that the Kohen isn't supposed to look at his hands. Why? Because there's some kind of divine energy spirit that's coming through the hands to the people. So we have to receive it. They have to be the conduits for birth. But what about being that conduit? I think we're all conduits. When we show up to help people, when we do all the things that we know are good things to do in the world, we're bringing godliness into the world. And people did that for us in ways that I am so inspired from. There was somebody on the day of our Sam's surgery. We were 26 years old. Like, I don't know how other 26-year-olds function in the world, but I didn't have a concept of some of the things that other people had. And one of our dear friends, he took the day off work and he sat with us in the hospital the whole day. And then when this tragic news came and we were completely out to lunch and the life was completely chaotic, he took over. He called the rabbi, he called the this, he arranged the funeral. I don't know who arranged the funeral. I was completely out of it. But other people picked up the slack. Other people came to aid. Other people, and I look back on that and say, that's so great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for bringing people to help me. Okay, so Shiva and beyond and beyond and beyond and beyond, and we're still trying to understand what it's all about and what it's all about. And I think there's another metaphor I'll give, and it's a metaphor of a tapestry. So the metaphor says that we live in the back of the tapestry. We live behind. Do you have a tapestry? No. But at the back of the tapestry, it doesn't look like the front of the tapestry. The back of the tapestry is all messed up. It's knotty. It's frayed pieces of thread. It doesn't look beautiful. It looks disorganized. It looks like a mess. We live in that space. And we're assured, back to what's going to be in the future, we're assured that one day, the end of days, we're going to be on the other side. And we'll see the beautiful picture that it is, and we'll understand why everything had to happen the way it did. Everything happened the way it did because now we get to your Emunah class, because the fundamental understanding is God is good, God is loving, and there's a reason and a meaning for everything. Because I think if we don't have that as our foundation, then it just feels why? You know, if I dodge the raindrops, will I get through life without any challenges? But it's not about, I mean, it is about dodging the raindrops, but we're going to get rained on. And how do we show up? What do we do? Knowing that there's a purpose and a meaning behind everything that happens to us. And I think that was sort of like, again, another epiphanal understanding that there's only so much we can control. And we try to control everything. And when life doesn't go plan A, what's plan B? What can I learn? How can I grow? How can I show up in the world, given that God has faith in me that I have what to do in this world? Shall I keep going? Shall I take questions? I have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Keep going. Okay, with the story. Okay, I'll tell you a God wink story. So it's all God winking. I don't know if you ever heard that phrase. Like, God winking means I got you. I got you. So here we are. It feels very bleak. Sam died. Will we have other children? We don't know. Will we have healthy children? We don't know. I was a mother. Now I'm not a mother. Will we be mothers again? Will we be parents again? What will be? We don't know. A few months after Sam died, a non-Jewish co-worker of my husband Michael approached him, telling him that she had a niece not Jewish niece, who was 18 in college and pregnant, and didn't want an abortion, but didn't want to, couldn't for various reasons raise her child. Are we interested in adopting this child? Essentially, do you want a baby? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Actually, Michael came home and said, do you want a baby? I was like, yeah. Doesn't matter. Comes this way, comes that way. And very long story short, we are planning to put a headstone on our son's grave on the 1-year yard site. And we make the plan, and the family is coming to the grave, and we're going to go there. It's a Sunday. It's October the 21st, 1990. The night before we're going to the grave, we get a phone call from the birth mother's mother. The birth mother's in labor. Our baby, our oldest daughter, who's now 36, was born on Sam's yard site. 1 year later. And you go, is that a God wink? Is it, well, we have this saying, is it odd or is it God? Right? Because people say it's coincidence, it's fate, it's, I don't know. What eyes do I look at? What am I looking at this? I look at it as, thank you, God. And maybe my prayers weren't answered the way I wanted. I want to have a family. I want to be strong. I want to live. I want Sam to live. A lot of things we pray for, and we don't get what we want necessarily. Maybe we get what will help us be the best people we can be, maybe. So we adopted Sophie, and she's now, as I said, 30. She's going to be 36, October 21st. And I was already pregnant with the next child. Thank God he was healthy, and he was born 7 months later. So there was good here. And then I threw myself into these children. I had another child. Maybe 30 years later, our middle daughter, had twins. And they were born at 26 weeks gestational age. So it's very little, very, very little. And after 3 months, her little daughter died. And you think, what? Didn't we do this? Didn't we do this already? Sending us another baby? What's this about? And I think, there's different ways of looking at different things. But I think as we were watching our daughter and son-in-law go through this loss and saying, I've got lots of wisdom. I can share with you all my wisdom. Would you like my wisdom, my dear daughter? And she said, no, I don't want your wisdom. And I think the lesson there was we have to go through what we each have to go through. You know the story about the guy who's in a taxi in Israel, and he's like this like chassid, he's got all the payers and the whole thing, gets in the taxi. It's a secular taxi driver, and the taxi driver says, "My best friend looks just like you." Do you know the story? And he says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Yeah, he's like from like you." Probably didn't say that, but he said, "Well, what's the story?" So he says, the story is we were hiking in the Himalayas, and we were secular Jews, and we're hiking, we're Israeli, we're hiking, and out of the woods comes this huge snake, and it wraps itself around my friend, and he's like saying Shema, like this is the end. And then the snake slithers away and he's saved. And the guy was like, ah, and he became religious from then on. So the passenger says to the driver, so what happened to you? How come you didn't become religious? He said, well, it didn't happen to me. It didn't happen to me, it happened to my friend. So he became religious. He had that moment of experience where, you know, your life flashes before your eyes. I don't know if you ever watched Chicken Run. Anybody ever watched that movie, Chicken Run? Oh, I highly recommend it. Anyway, I was going to give you a line out of Chicken Run, but it's not a popular movie. So when Sonia's baby died, she has to go through it. I guess on some level, we all have to go through what we have to go through, and nobody can take it away from us. We can stand with each other. We can be there. I can say, Sonia, I love you, and I'm here for you, and I'm not scared of the pain you're going through. And I really hope, please God, that you grow from this, that you'll learn things that will inform your life in meaningful, good ways. I'm sure as I parented differently after Sam died, that she parents differently after her little baby girl died, that it transforms us, it changes us, it shapes us, makes us into the people that we have the potential perhaps to be, or that steers us in certain directions. And we don't understand. And I do, 36 years later, look back and feel very blessed to have had Sam. I feel blessed that we got to take care of him for his 4 months of life. That huge soul that God put into the world, that God blew into this little body that was too tiny, too fragile to hold this massive soul, that he needed a physical manifestation for that amount of time. And then it was time for him to ascend into the spiritual realms. He had to go up and under the heavenly throne again, like we talk about heavenly thrones, but it's not really a heavenly throne, but whatever that is, that there's a spiritual ascension of our souls. And the connection that we have with our loved ones who predeceased us is real. The line between this world and the spiritual worlds keeps us boxed in, but sometimes you can, who was it was telling me? Something was just telling me. One of you was just telling me that before their mother died, their mother said, my mum and dad are coming to meet me. They're coming to escort me into the next world. They're coming. When we pass on, the souls go into the world of souls, and the deceased relatives come to greet us and bring us back into the spiritual realms. If you've ever read near-death experiences, it's very borne out in our tradition how the soul ascends out of the physical body. It can see. There's a great story. This is actually a true story. It's about a woman in Israel who was driving somewhere, and there was a big road accident up ahead, and there's masses of traffic behind her. She's stuck in traffic. So nothing's moving. She's sitting there. It doesn't matter. You can't do anything. So she goes into her glove compartment. She takes out a book of Psalms, and she starts reading Psalms, praying for whatever is going on up ahead should be good, and nothing terrible should happen. And then the road opens up, and she drives on. And I don't remember exactly how long later, maybe a year or two later, she's in the supermarket. And this lady comes up to her and she says, thank you. Says, yes. Am I missing something here? The lady says, do you remember a couple of years ago you were waiting in the traffic jam and you said to Helen, you said Psalms for an accident that was up ahead? I was in the accident. And when my soul left my body, I saw you praying for me. Like, is that a crazy story? Like, there's stuff going on. And so every now and then we have a God wink, we have an opening, we have something. When we read our Torah and we read about Moses receiving the Jewish people, we just Shavuos, right? There's a revelation of God, that mechitza, that division between the fetus and the mother, right? The uterine wall peels back a little bit, and we have a vision of something way bigger than we're part of. We get to see a little bit of the other side of that tapestry. We get moments like that where we understand that there's something way bigger going on here. And these moments, I think, really kind of like if you keep putting them together and you hear stories and you talk to people and they tell you their stories and you realize there's just a lot like we just don't know. And when Moses goes up on that sand and he talks to God and he said, show me your ways, the answer is you can't know my ways. You can't see me and live. That's the pasuk. You can't see me and live. So the sequitur is when we die, when our souls leave our bodies, go out of the time space box that we're created into and live in, when we ascend outside that, we see the bigger picture. Until the end of days, when we're promised it's going to be good in the end. There's a saying, it's going to be good in the end. And if it's not good, it's not the end. It's not the end. This is part of a journey we're all on. And we're in the messiness of the back of the tapestry. And we're doing our best. And we're emoting. And we're crying. And we're joyous. And we smell the beautiful roses in England. Oh my gosh, you know what roses actually smell? Roses in America, I don't think they smell as delicious as roses in England. It's so amazing. Like just smell that rose and be in that moment. That is such a blessing. It's such a waft of, yeah, I'm giving you a rose. You know, so I feel like I've shared a lot of things with you. One last passing idea, thought. I think, and it's hard because we live in a culture that isn't, actually, I shouldn't speak for the UK. I experience many people, myself included, who are frightened of our emotions. Like we tell people, be strong. You know, it's okay. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. But sometimes it isn't fine. Sometimes it's really, and I couldn't say to my daughter when her baby died, it's going to be fine, Sonia. I can't tell her that. I mean, she can look and say, my parents survived and thrived, so I know there's hope and I know I can do this. But she has to go through her own journey. Like the man in the cab didn't have the snake wrap around him. So for some reason, we all have to have our own epiphanies and our own learning curves. And actually, Sonia says things now. And I'm like, I could have told you that. But that's not how we learn. We learn by experience. We learn by opening up our hearts to each other. There's a lot of potential for us in this world. And God has faith in us that we'll get there. So Dr. Edith Eva Eger, she was a Holocaust survivor. I don't know if any of you heard of her. Yeah. She's an American. She was living in America. She just died. I think she was 99 years old. She wrote her first book when she was 90 about surviving the Holocaust and then coming out of Auschwitz and her journey post-Auschwitz. It's actually a must read. It's hugely inspiring. She has a lot of like aphorisms in there that you want to hold on to. One of which is expression is the antidote to depression. What you hold on to will kill you, basically. So can we find the ways, like for us, what's our grief journey after Sam died? Michael's was different than mine. I needed to go to groups and I needed to talk to people and I need to go to therapy and I had my way of doing things and he had his way of doing things, but we couldn't unload on each other. Like I couldn't tell him all my grief. It was too big for me even to like access myself. I couldn't get there. I needed help. I was in a cave, not a tunnel. I was stuck in a black cave, but I knew I needed to find a tunnel because I wanted to come out the other side and I wanted to do something different. Anyway, so where am I going with this? Is everybody has their own kind of way of dealing with things, but that's something to think about, is how we express our emotions. You know, it could be through exercise or drawing or painting or talking or crying, but her advice, which seems to resonate with many people, is to find ways to express the feelings that you have so that they don't live inside you and hold you down. I'll leave that as a passing thought. Okay, so I'm happy to take questions and you can ask anything. And if I can't answer it, I'll tell you. I won't make it up.
One question. Thank you very much for very inspiring talk. Just one question for you. If Sam hadn't died, passed away,
Right.
do you think you would have adopted?
Oh, yes, but I don't think we would have been offered the baby.
Yeah.
I think she felt sorry for us.
Yeah.
And I don't really know. I mean, we're living in Washington, D.C., and we were in our 20s. Most people who I think were interested in this white Caucasian healthy baby from a white Caucasian healthy mother, which is very unusual, were couples with a lot of means. And what do I know? I divinely inspired that this was offered to us. It's very unusual. But you know, looking back now, I mean, we have biological children. We have our daughter who's adopted. Love them all, and want to help them all live their fullest lives. And so, yeah, probably if somebody offered us a child, then probably yes. I would like to say definitively yes. Good question. Yes, please.
We talk about things that happen we cannot explain because they're so far-fetched, but you think, how can that happen? I don't know. So I'll tell you a quick story. My parents were married just over 70 years, and mother passed away and then, so we were looking after my father, and my father, 3 weeks later, killed. So this one here, at 1 o'clock in the morning, woke up and said to her husband, Matthew, Grandma's coming.
That's a great story.
That is, you know,
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Right. Is there a question?
no, it's not a question. It just shows you.
It just shows you.
Of how something spiritual.
Is that comforting? I mean, it's a testament that our deceased relatives are still exist in a different iteration, still
Yes,
a different, right? And then that your parents are so interconnected, their souls are so interconnected, and they're so like of course one's going to come and meet the other one,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
but we don't always have the message to tell us that. So
So
it's a great story.
Right.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful story. Thank you. Please. Yeah, a bit louder because of the fans.
Hello, South London.
Oh yeah.
I'm Croydon, so
Ah.
I
Streatham.
used to drive through.
Right.
Thank you.
Sure.
From what happened to you, is that why you then went into teacher?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, it's all intertwined. It's
Okay.
all intertwined. So after, and I'll share a little bit more tomorrow. But I think even at Shiva, our friends, told us that they had created a Chevra Kadisha to prepare Sam for his burial. And I never heard of Chevra Kadisha. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? I don't know anything about that. And I wasn't ready to hear about it for a while. And then I was, and I wanted to know, what did you do? And the Rebbitzin of the shul, she had a little baby that was the same age as Sam. And she and a bunch of women made his burial garments. So I wrote a book about it. So she wrote a little piece about how they had this little group and they got her son's onesie and they used him as a model to make these little burial shrouds that they buried Sam in. But years later, I went back to them and I said, please tell me what you did. And please tell me, what did Sam look like? Because at the hospital, they said, do you want to see Sam? And you have that minute to think about it. Do I want to look at him? Do I not want to look at him? Yes, but no. So you didn't, did you? No. So we didn't see him. But I had this image in my mind that he's post-op. He had open heart surgery. He's going to be blue. He's going to be puffy. He's not the image I want in my mind of this sweet little baby, right? However, I can ask my friends, what did Sam look like? And they said, he looked beautiful. And now I wonder, did he? But it doesn't matter. They said to me, look beautiful, thank you very much. That's what I need to hear, that's what I need to know. And my work in the Chevra Kadisha now, I know it's all supposed to be so secret, but there are opportunities to give people so much comfort by sharing what they shared with me, you know. So did that answer your question? Yeah. So there's a lot talking about Chevra Kadisha, but it's a lot about the journey of the soul and what happens in that space between death and burial. Like that's, nobody knows about that. But shine a little bit of light on it, maybe to bring some comfort.
Something
You must speak up so everyone can hear you.
a day or two before my mother passed away, she went through with my theatre, and she suddenly started absolutely screaming in front of her baby, not my baby.
Oh.
And I thought, oh, maybe she's talking about my granddaughter, my granddaughter showing she was here yesterday, and she got
Thank you.
angry.
Yeah.
She said, no,
She had a baby that died.
I think,
She
and I
must have
asked
had
my elder brother and sister, I don't remember. It must have, that
So
must have
interesting.
happened.
Yeah.
Because she was screaming and crying, she passed away before me. So this is all
Yeah,
related.
yeah,
to
it
what
is
we
all
are.
related. Like, there's a lot going on. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, please.
You know, as you go through life, sometimes you think something's happened. I've been here before.
Ooh.
I've heard so many people say it.
Yeah.
I've been somewhere, and I know I haven't been.
Yeah.
I mean, I very much believe in what you've spoken about. I've had several experiences of it, but this thing that you know you haven't been there before, so there has to be something to do with the soul.
Right. There's a fantastic book actually recently written by Saria Rigler. I can't remember the title of it. Maybe you'll remember.
It's something like.
But it's all these interviews with people around the world who have flashbacks or memories of scenes in the Holocaust. So the understanding that she's trying to pull out is that these are all souls that are coming back into this world, coming back into this life now, and they have memories of a previous life. And the stories are unbelievably outrageous, like a little 7-year-old boy in Wales who's not Jewish, who can picture a whole village in Austria and it all lines up. And she has all these testimonies of stories of people who have memories that they wouldn't have gotten anywhere. It's for sure. I'm not it just keeps like adding more evidence to the idea that yes, we have work to do, and we don't know what it is. We don't know why we're here, but there is a reason. and one final, and it could be, we have this word tafkid, like your mission, and it could be your mission. Like at one point I thought, well, my mission is to take care of Sam, so now my mission's over, but maybe there's another mission. There's something else to do. Maybe the mission is to be there for our daughter Sonia. Like, we don't know, and we kind of try to think them up and make them up, but I think at the end of the day, we just try to be as good people as we possibly can, you know, and try to get rid of all the negativity and all the shtus. Yeah. A bit louder, sorry.
Is it your understanding that the soul goes into one body?
Oh, no. 600,000 souls, and there's more than how many million Jews are there? Sparks of souls. But so here's the way I understand it. This was a parable given by my teacher, Elissa Felder. Did she come here? No. Anyway, so she thinks of it as a stack of coins, like a soul as a stack of coins. You know, again, anthropomorphic terms for spiritual concepts, so don't get stuck on the anthropomorphisms. Stack of coins. So a soul is a breath of God. Neshima, neshama. Neshima is breath in Hebrew. Neshama, breath. So there's work to do, and some aspects of the soul, some chips of that stack of chips finishes its tikkun, finishes what it was here for. So that doesn't come back. The other parts come back. They come back in different iterations, and they come back in different places. God has a much bigger picture and a much bigger understanding. It was interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine last night, and she said, well, Sam's the center and you're all revolving around it. And I said, I don't think that, it's not the way I think about it. I think Sam was the protagonist of his story. We all are protagonists of our stories. But God, in his infinite wisdom, is able to put we all interact with each other in ways that need to happen so that we can make choices. And again, we have free choice, so that kind of messes things up because we choose imperfectly because we're imperfectly human. But at the end of the day, I think I think there's a reason why this baby was born to us, and there's a reason why that baby was born to Sonia, and there's a reason why my children had to grow up with this specter of a child that came before them, and the mother who gets very animated when she talks about death, like they have to deal with that. Mummy, you come alive when you talk about death. Okay, great, let's talk about it.
The bits of point and
Yeah.
absolute sense, maybe, but
Yeah.
also why didn't you hold out? That's that because that didn't just solve.
Yeah. Yeah, and all the weight of what happens in the aftermath. So if we go back to the soul ascending in the spiritual realms happy and all the people are crying, we go back to that. What do we do with our tears? What do we do with our grief? What do we do with our pain? How do we, and then go back to Viktor Frankl, like we live in those choices that we make, how we think and how we like, and in its time and as we progress through, thinking about tears. I'll tell you another beautiful medrash. There's a medrash about the waters that were the beginning of time. God creates the world. At the beginning of the book of Genesis, it says there were waters and God was hovering over the surface of the waters. There was water. There was always water. And then God separates the waters. So there's an upper water and lower waters. And the Medrash teaches us that the waters down here were very sad. They didn't want to live down here. They want to be up in their heavenly realms. They don't want to be here. And they complain to God, like, I don't want to be down in this world. And God says, don't worry. The waters of the lower world are going to be used in a big party, a big ceremony that's going to happen on the holiday of Sukkot. There's going to be this water festival, the Simchas Beis HaShoeva, and the water is going to go on the altar, and it's going to be joyous, and everybody's going to be happy, and you get to do that. So for a minute, the waters are happy. So the addendum to the story is that the waters say that's fine when there's a temple. But what happens for the time when there's no temple? Then what? God says, you, dear waters of the lower world, are going to come out in the tears of the Jewish people. Holy, holy tears of the Jewish people. And there's many, many sources that teach us that God stores these tears in a vessel, in a flask, and that they change heavenly decrees, that there's a power to the tears that we shed. No tear, no prayer goes unheard or unanswered. So I don't know if that's where we were going with that, but thank you. I think there was one more question.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that my mother had a baby that died when she only lived for 3 months, and she was born before I was born and died. And same like your Sam, my mother said there was something wrong with her when she was born, and the doctors just said, you're an over-anxious mother, there's nothing wrong with this baby, you know, just look after this baby. And then when she became nearly 3 months old, they said there was a problem with her heart, and they would operate when she was 1, because this was about 75 years ago, and she didn't live that long, she died. And it's really sad, and I often think about her.
Yeah. Well,
But
one day you'll see her again.
it's really sad. But then my mother had me.
Yeah.
And she was very protective.
Yes,
of
I'm
me,
sure
wasn't
she was. She was.
She really was.
Yeah.
Yes, she really was.
But go back to the idea that the soul needs to have a physical touchdown.
Yes.
But the souls of these babies, you know, whether it's miscarriages or stillbirths or, you know, a few months old, these babies, like the understanding is they're very, very heavenly souls, holy souls, and they just needed like almost like a touchdown, and then they go up high. They have to come down and go up.
Yes.
So I don't know, I found that comforting. Like that story of your sibling,
My sibling, yes.
right, had that was a very holy soul. And another idea, so when we talked about the aspen trees and how the aspen trees are all one root system, so families are like one branch of the root system. So the souls of families are like grapes on a cluster. They're close. There's a closeness to the souls. So when I think about Sam, or I think about stories that people tell me, or my own granddaughter, I feel like we're all clusters on this grapevine, and we'll see each other. We'll see each other again.
Yes.
Yeah,
And one interesting thing actually is that my brother used to sleepwalk, even as an adult. And my sister-in-law said that he was always saying, I'm looking for the baby, I'm looking for the baby. and she thought that she was simply his sister because he was older than me. That's interesting, isn't it? There's that
Sounds like you want to
connection.
wrap this up. We could keep going, Jacqueline.
It's Friday.
One final question. I mean, you mentioned about 600,000 Jewish souls.
Root
Yes.
souls.
Sorry?
They use the word root
Oh,
souls.
root souls. Okay, so you're not saying therefore because there's 16 million or so Jews, it's not.
Right, doesn't line up.
We're not
We're
Jewish,
bits
is
of, we're like, it's a much bigger
it?
entity.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
So I feel so lucky to have been able to share wonderful Elissa with everyone here. I'm sure that there are questions and thoughts that people maybe didn't want to share publicly, and I'm sure they will come to you. Elissa's written an amazing book that she's selling if anyone would like to be able to buy that from her today. And like I said at the beginning, in terms of if anyone wants to be part of the sponsorship as well. But as I started, I think everyone, part of life, as you said as well, Elissa, is loss. And I think it's so important that everyone looks after themselves and leaves today being kind to themselves, because it's as inspirational and incredible as the idea that this is shared with us. It's a lot. And I hope that we can all take some of those beautiful examples and the inspiration of Sam and bring it with us into Shabbat this week and bring it into our lives together. And just really so grateful to have you here. As Elissa said, tomorrow at 11 o'clock, she's going to be talking about, you'll probably give like a summary version of the story for the people who weren't here, but talking about the work of the Chevra Kadisha, which she's really dedicated her life to. It's unbelievable. And you'll hear more of the spiritual side of that as well. And as you said, Elissa, it's not something that we talk about normally, but it's so important to understand what it is that Chevra Kadisha does and how they beautifully prepare our loved ones for burial. So that's going to be a very special session tomorrow. It's wonderful to have some new people here. We do meet every Monday at 9:30. There's also a WhatsApp group that you can join. Our sessions do go on YouTube very late, but they do eventually get there. But it's really unbelievable to be able to share this really challenging, interesting journey of life that we go on together. And as Elissa said, surrounded by other people and community and our incredible Jewish people. That's what it's about. So thank you everyone for being here with us today.